The warning signs had always been there, small at first, hidden beneath the illusion of elegance and carefully applied charm. Vanessa, my wife, knew exactly how to get what she wanted, and she was never shy about going after it. Her allure was once captivating, a quality that could melt away tension and win over any room. But over time, that allure began to curdle. Her comments became sharper, her smiles thinner. And her mother, Gloria, only made things worse. Gloria lived to be admired. She fancied herself the final word on class, refinement, and social superiority. Naturally, it was her brilliant suggestion to organize a dinner at Lato Duke's, a restaurant known less for its food and more for its prices. The kind of place where menus came without numbers, because if you had to ask, you didn't belong. Vanessa barely spoke during the ride over. She was glued to her phone while I kept my eyes on the road. 2 weeks earlier, I had lost my position at the architecture firm where I had spent 10 years of my life. To Vanessa, this seemed more like a minor annoyance than a crisis. I held on to my pride, to whatever was left of the relationship, unaware that I was being escorted into a trap. We walked into a glittering dining room, where chandeliers sparkled like cut glass and a string quartet played tunes that seemed to hush even the air. Gloria was already seated, spinning a glass of wine in her hand, the color rich and dark, her attention fixed on it rather than us. "You're late," she said, still gazing into her glass. "Vanessa, darling, you really must teach your husband the importance of punctuality. It reflects poorly on your upbringing." I said nothing, just pulled out Vanessa's chair and sat down like a man still trying to believe the dagger behind him was just a shadow. Dinner played out like theater. Not once did either of them ask how I was managing, or even pretend to care about the portfolio I had spent days refining. Gloria rambled on about her villa in some place she mispronounced, Tuscanyang or something equally fabricated. Vanessa talked in circles about some mysterious business venture and dropped hints that she needed additional funding. Wine flowed freely. The waiter hovered nearby, polite but quiet, like a servant witnessing the prelude to a public execution. And then it happened. The bill was placed on the table with all the grace of a sword dropped onto velvet. Gloria reclined, dabbing at her lips with her napkin as if closing a performance. Vanessa reached for the bill folder, peeked inside, and then slid it across to me with a smile that looked more like a challenge. "Your turn," she said, sweet on the surface, laced with venom underneath. I opened it. Nearly $100,000. I looked up, stunned. "You're kidding, right?" Gloria gave a mocking laugh. "Is that too much for the man of the house?" Vanessa crossed her arms. "Either you pay or we're done." I stared at her, trying to steady myself. "Vanessa, you know I'm not in a place to cover this. You knew before we came here. Why bring me knowing I couldn't pay?" Without a word, Vanessa reached for her wine glass and hurled the contents into my face. A hush swept the room. Even the musicians stopped, frozen in the middle of their piece. She rose to her feet, eyes flashing. "Enjoy the humiliation," she said with venom. "Because we're over." Gloria let out a laugh that bordered on manic. A triumphant cackle. The waiter stood motionless, unsure if he should step in or step away. But I didn't react. I simply reached for a cloth napkin and wiped the wine from my face, then glanced around the room, noticing all the stunned expressions. What they didn't know was that I had seen this coming. And I was ready. The quiet that settled over the table after the outburst was oddly satisfying. Vanessa had expected me to explode. Gloria had counted on me to wilt under pressure. Instead, they were met with something far more unnerving: composure. I reached inside my jacket and set a black credit card on the tray. It wasn't mine personally. Just 2 days prior, I had accepted a new position as a consultant with a top-tier firm, 6-figure salary, full benefits, the works. The kicker? My first assignment was to redesign the interior of this very restaurant. I hadn't told Vanessa yet, not out of secrecy, but because I wanted to know what she'd do when she thought I had nothing left. The waiter picked up the card and gave a slight nod, his expression shifting just enough to show something close to respect. Vanessa stood stiffly, hands clenched. Her voice cracked with anger. "You think this is amusing?" "No," I said, calmly finishing my cleanup. "I think it's very telling. I supported this family for years. The second I hit a bump, you both turn on me." Gloria rolled her eyes with dramatic flair. Please. Don't make this a soap opera. You're lucky we even invited you. I turned to her, my voice quiet but firm. Gloria, I'd suggest you stay silent. This is about to get a lot more uncomfortable than you planned. She narrowed her eyes. Excuse me. Just then, the waiter returned, holding a receipt and an envelope. Mr. Bennett, he said in a low voice. Chef Rivera asked me to give you this. He said you'd know what it meant. He handed me the envelope, sealed and bearing the restaurant's logo. Vanessa's expression shifted to confusion as she furrowed her brows. I carefully broke the seal and slid out the contents, an image printed from the restaurant's security footage. It showed Vanessa at the bar, leaning in, lips pressed against someone else's, specifically, the bartender. I placed the photo gently on the table, letting it glide toward her. This was the night you said you were stuck at work, I said. Her hands began to tremble. Color drained from her face, once flushed like her wine. Gloria looked between us, clearly bewildered. What is this? Gloria asked, trying to understand. Vanessa quickly grabbed the photo. Are you spying on me now? No, I answered with calm precision. I just stopped pretending I didn't see the signs. Gloria slammed her glass down. How dare you do this to her? I'm not trying to shame her, I replied, sliding my napkin aside. This is just the beginning. Vanessa opened her mouth, but no words came out. She wasn't prepared. I was. And what I had planned next would make this confrontation feel tame in comparison. 2 days later, Vanessa sat frozen, clinging to the photo that had exposed everything. Whatever confidence she walked in with had vanished, leaving only shock and fear behind. The air around her was thick with tension, her mask of composure long gone. Gloria leaned in, her voice sharp with rage. You think humiliating her proves you're strong? It just proves you're pathetic. I met her anger with a cool smile. Interesting word, strong star. Because Vanessa and I had very specific understandings before we got married. You remember the prenup, don't you? Vanessa's eyes snapped to mine. That doesn't count. You had a job when we signed it. I didn't let her finish. A business, actually. The barbershop I started with my college friend. The one you mocked. Said it wouldn't last. She stayed quiet. Well, it did last. In fact, it's done well enough to be placed in a trust. One that's off limits to anyone, including you. The prenup protects it. I took out my phone and tapped the screen casually. And on the subject of boundaries, I added, glancing at my screen, I've had an email drafted for weeks. Just sent it. Vanessa blinked. What did you do? I looked at her directly. I shared evidence, with your hospital's HR, the state medical board, and your employer's internal compliance office. Screenshots of your messages to him, the ones you sent from your work phone, on hospital grounds. She looked like the floor had dropped from under her. You didn't. I already have. I stood, folded my napkin neatly. And the house? She asked, rising to her feet, eyes narrowed. You don't own it. She laughed, bitter and shaky. We bought it together. No, I said. I bought it. With trust funds. The deed's in my name. It always has been. I never said anything because I didn't want to make you feel small. Gloria's mouth fell open. You're lying. I slid a folder across the table. Take a look. The ownership is listed right there. Then I turned to Vanessa. Start packing. You'll have the eviction notice by Monday. She dropped back into her chair, speechless. Even Gloria had nothing to say now. I walked out of that restaurant, not in anger, not in haste. I left with purpose. I wasn't just leaving a dinner. I was stepping out of a prison they thought I'd never escape. They'd called me spineless. But what I had was far more powerful. I had patience. In the days that followed, silence settled in. No arguments, no shouting. Just an eerie stillness. Vanessa didn't show up to work that Monday. Word spread quickly through mutual contacts. She'd been suspended. The hospital launched an investigation into inappropriate workplace behavior and misuse of hospital resources. But that wasn't the end. I never released the images. But someone did. Turned out Vanessa had been sending more than just messages. There were risque photos, taken right inside the hospital locker room. One of her colleagues found them and forwarded them. From that point, the fallout only deepened. Quiet, cold, unrelenting, just the way I'd planned it. They began to circulate, first in a private Facebook group for local healthcare professionals, then spread to Reddit, and eventually found their way to Twitter. The shame wasn't mild, it was devastating. Her carefully knit circle fell apart. The group of women she used to laugh with over weekend brunch stopped talking to her. Some unfollowed her on social media, while others left cutting remarks. You really blew it with a good man, one said. But the deepest wound came from someone closer, her godmother, the stern woman who had practically raised her. She once told Vanessa, you've got gold in your hands. Don't let pride bury it. Now, it seemed even she had realized that the warning had gone unheeded. As for me, I returned to our home by myself. I changed the locks, repainted the walls, removed every single thing that reminded me of her, including the white porcelain vase she claimed was a symbol of our love. To me, it had become a symbol of betrayal. I shattered it and tossed the pieces into a dumpster. I threw myself into my work, picked up more shifts at the barbershop, hit the gym again, and finished the paperwork for a second location. I was rebuilding a life, cleaner, stronger, and more at peace. Then, on the 14th day, the silence finally broke. A message from Vanessa. I made a terrible mistake. Can we talk? I don't want to argue. I just want to understand how things fell apart. I'm seeing a therapist. I lost my job. Everyone's turned their back on me. You were the only one who truly loved me. Please don't ignore me. I didn't respond to her. Instead, I sent a message to her mother. You once told me, either pay the price or the marriage ends. I've paid in silence, peace, and dignity. The debt is settled. 2 weeks later came the legal reckoning. Vanessa didn't say much in court. Her expression was hollow, the fire in her eyes replaced by a kind of desperate stillness. My lawyer did most of the talking. I handed over a folder filled with proof, screenshots, security camera footage of her affair partner coming to the house, even a receipt from a dinner I paid for while she was supposedly breaking down. The judge reviewed everything, then turned to her and said, you brought your affair partner into your home, publicly humiliated your husband, and expressed no remorse. You forfeited any right to spousal support the moment you did that. The divorce was finalized. The assets, house, car, bank accounts, and business, all remained with me. She left with nothing but clothes stuffed into garbage bags and a name smeared beyond repair. A month later, I opened my second barbershop. Warm lighting, cedar wood, the sound of clippers humming and the fresh scent of aftershave filled the space. One afternoon, a new client took a seat in my chair, a young guy, first visit. We chatted about life, music, and healing. At one point, he asked, "Hey, you ever been cheated on?" I gave a small smile. "Yeah." "What did you do?" I met his gaze. I stayed quiet. I let her think she won. Then I built a life so good, she wouldn't recognize the man she lost. And that was the turning point. Vanessa ended up moving in with her mother. Word had it that even Gloria, once her strongest supporter, got tired of hearing the same sad tales. The bartender she cheated with disappeared not long after she was kicked out. As for me, I earned my license for the second shop, started mentoring young guys in the neighborhood, and began seeing someone new. She didn't care about material things, just honesty, a good heart, and laughter. One evening, we sat on the porch, sipping wine as the sun went down. She turned to me and asked, "Do you ever think about your ex?" I smiled, not because I missed her, but because remembering her made me realize just how far I'd come. Not by chasing revenge, but by refusing to become like her.